Thank you, everyone. I want to welcome everyone here today. And for those of you who will be watching this video sometime in the near future, welcome. And I want to say thank you to each one of you for taking time today to come to visit with us, the Amarillo NAACP, about what is going on with our housing situation in Amarillo, and what resources we have available, what is needed. And we're going to chat with all of these folks today and get some information to share with the members of our community. So what I'd like to do is just start off with just a little background. We all know, all of us who work in this field and have had the search for housing, we all know that affordable housing is something that is in great need, both in our community and in this country. There was a housing crisis before even the pandemic. There were millions of people who were out of housing, unable to afford housing, or experienced housing insecurity, meaning they were a paycheck away from losing their housing, or any kind of emergency away from losing housing. So this crisis isn't anything new. It has just been exacerbated by the pandemic. And now here we are 18 months into this pandemic that feels like it's never going to end. And the pandemic, as I said, has made things worse in the world of housing and for people who need affordable housing. It hasn't gotten better with the rental assistance that's been available, but that has been part of the safety net that does exist and is helping people. Right now, there's research that shows that over 8 million people are behind on their rent right now in this country, and that they could at any moment be evicted and be turned out of their housing. Homeowners at least have the option of forbearance, loan modification. They have a few options to work with their lenders. That isn't really available for tenants. And evictions in Texas have been going on since the Texas eviction moratorium ended in May of 2020. So we experience evictions, we have been experiencing evictions, and there are lots of folks who are in need. So what we would like to do today is we've brought all of you together to talk about options, resources, and to share information with our community. So what I'd like to do is start out and ask for all of you. I'm going to go around round robin and ask you guys to just introduce yourself, tell us your name and where you work. And then after that, we're going to dive a little deeper into the information. So again, thank you everyone for being here. So let's start with Patrick Miller. Patrick, would you tell us a little bit about you and where you are?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. I am Patrick Miller. I'm the president of the Amarillo branch NAACP. I'm also an educator. I have the privilege of serving as one of the assistant principals at East Ridge Elementary School. When we talk about housing in this crisis and how the issues of housing and affordable housing, or the lack thereof, have just simply been exacerbated because of the pandemic. I know we all feel our hearts torn by the decisions that have to be made on a daily basis, but they are in no way as impacted as the families who have to actually live through this. So I'm very humbled that our housing committee chair of the Amarillo branch NAACP, Ms. Kay Pechin, would be open to assembling this great group of tremendous influencers in our city to assemble here today and to have this very important conversation. Hopefully it will be the first of many more to come as we work as a collaborative group, I dare say focus group and task force to help mitigate some of the negative effects associated with the housing crisis, even here in the midst of ourselves here in this city. I'm thankful for all of you for being here. I look forward to hearing everything that you say And I'm thankful to know that you are all involved in this work. And beside me, I'd be remiss if I did not say, my wife is here, who has been dealing with tragedy in our family, and she's over to my left side, Mrs. Deanna Miller. But again, thank you all. I look forward to hearing what you all have to say.
Thank you, Patrick. And I'm sorry for the tragedy in your family. Let Deanna know we're with her in spirit. So I'm going to go around and ask all of you to just give a little introduction about yourself and your organization. And if you don't unmute yourself, I will remind you. So let's start at the top. Jenny, you are at the top of my screen. Virginia Williams Trice. Would you please lead us off?
Hi, Kay. So I'm Virginia. I work with Amarillo Housing First. We work predominantly with chronically homeless individuals and families, and we also operate the Code Blue warming station during the extreme winter weather that comes through our area. We also work just in general with homeless people, but the I guess for housing purposes, where our target population is our chronically homeless. And thank you for hosting this, by the way.
Thank you. Thanks so much for being here. Ms. Kimber.
I'm Kimber Thompson. I'm the homeless liaison for Amarillo ISD. And so we work with families and children who are experiencing homelessness for many different reasons for the McKinney-Vento laws. And as far as locating housing, we assist families with getting housing assistance through the City of Amarillo Community Development or Panhandle Community Services, and try to assist them in locating housing that meets their needs for their children, the families and children in our program.
Thank you, Kimber. Mr. Smart, Steve.
Good afternoon. Thank you for putting this on, Kay. You've got a pretty great little group here that's very diverse, and I appreciate that because there's so many different views on this and experiences and different things that go on in this world. So I appreciate that. I'm with Another Chance House. We provide a positive path toward a new and better self-sufficient life through structured living programs for men who are homeless or at risk of homelessness. So our housing issues really come when we are helping a man move to permanent housing, not through our program. We usually keep them completely under our realm, except in just certain areas. And so, but I'm sure we can fit into this conversation well. So thank you for having us.
Absolutely. We'll dive a little deeper into that, Steve, in a few minutes. Thank you. All right. I see that Jason Riddlespurger and Stephanie have joined us. There's Jason, you're supposed to be on vacation today, aren't you?
Hey, can everybody hear me? I'm just going to look for a couple thumbs up. Okay,
Yes.
cool. Hey, I'm Jason Riddlespurger, and I am the Director of Community Development. I apologize. I'm at a family reunion in East Texas, and so my service is probably a little spotty. And I have Stephanie Rodarte-Suto. She's our Assistant Director, so she's going to be online, and she's going to have much better service to help out and everything. But I'm going to continue to try to listen so that if there's anything that comes up that I can maybe help answer, I'll certainly jump on and help. But I am having a good time in East Texas. We got a swimming pool, so sorry y'all are in your home offices and that kind of thing, but I'm going to have a good time the rest of this weekend. So glad to be here and glad to do everything we can on the behalf of the city to help with these crises that we're going through. So thank y'all for having us.
Thank you, Jason. Thanks for taking some time out of that beautiful day.
My pleasure.
So we will jump to Stephanie. Stephanie, would you, there?
Hi. Hi, how are you? Sorry, I was just struggling a little bit with technology. Yeah, I'm the Assistant Director of Community Development. So let me ask, were you wanting to hear a little bit about just some of the basic things that we do?
Just that's all we need right now, and then we're going to come
Okay,
to you. Okay. All right.
okay, thanks.
Just introducing folks to start with. So Kimberly McDaniel, would you please introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Kimberly McDaniel, and I'm a staff attorney with Legal Aid of Northwest Texas, CRP department, Community Revitalization Project. And in our department, we represent primarily groups, and our areas of focus are affordable housing, environmental justice, and community development.
Thank you. Thank you. And Jerri Glover is our admin today. Hi, Jerri. Thank you for showing us your face. And you fit into this conversation too. So tell us where you are, who you are, and where you are.
Thank you, Ms. Pechin. My name is Jerri Glover. I'm a realtor. I've been a realtor here in Amarillo for about 4 years, going into my 5th year here very soon. And I am also wearing the hat of NAACP admin and Zoom host. So when the NAACP picture is up, I'm NAACP. And when that goes down, you're talking to Jerri Glover, realtor, and those are my opinions. And we'll just delineate that way.
Thanks, Jerri. And thank you for all the introductions. So I would like to start diving down into some of the nitty gritty, and I'd like to start with Kimber. Kimber, you are working with families experiencing homelessness and they have children in AISD. So tell us a little bit about how your office works, how many people you have on staff there to help homeless families. And so tell us a little bit about your team, but also tell us a little bit more about what kinds of services your team provides to these families. And if you would, tell us how many families you're serving. And give us a little context. Is it more than last year? Is it more than 2019? Is it less? What are you seeing?
Well, we typically have myself and then I have 2 licensed social workers on staff, but this year right now I'm 1 short because we had someone resign here and we have not yet filled that position. And then I'm secretary.
And we have lost Kimber.
Yep, it looks like she might be experiencing some internet connection issues, but hopefully she'll be back soon.
Okay. So let me switch over to when Kimber comes back, we will put her next in line. Let's go to Virginia. Virginia, tell us a little bit about your families and give us a little context. Are you seeing fewer, more? And tell us how your staff and what you all do to help people in a homeless situation.
Well, we're still pretty much a volunteer operation. We do have 4 paid staff members, and then we have 1 contract employee that helps us with furniture and like building maintenance and stuff like that, because we do have a furniture program that we do for our housing clients. And then we have, right now, we just really have about 4 to 6 volunteers that come out throughout the week. We lost a lot of our volunteer base during the COVID event. So that's one way that COVID has affected our operations, is that we just don't have as many volunteers out as did. So for our operations, Amarillo Housing First itself, we are here, we have office hours 4 days a week. And during those office hours, we are engaging with folks who are coming by our office. Some of them have appointments and they're working on things such as ID work and getting connected to benefits. Some of them are working on housing. So we help them look for housing. We partner with the city of Amarillo's Community Development Department for getting those who need HUD rental assistance vouchers, and also Panhandle Community Services. We have some clients who have those vouchers as well. We participate in the Ending Veteran Homelessness project too. So our
technical difficulties today.
Okay, So I think I just left off of that. We participate in the Ending Veteran Homelessness Project. So I had mentioned earlier, we focus primarily on chronically homeless, which means that they've been homeless for a year or more over the past 3 years, basically, and that they also have a disabling condition. That gets them counted as a chronically homeless individual or family. We do assistance for other homeless families and individuals also, like the ID work that we do, which is, we do birth certificates, social security cards, state IDs. We help people get all the necessary supporting documents for that. That is for any person who or family that presents themselves as homeless. So the supplies that we give away from the office, that's for anyone who presents themselves as homeless and in need. We also provide food and snacks from the office when we're open. We do a lot of referrals. So that is something that with the onset of COVID and the crisis that we've had with affordable housing in conjunction with that and people losing their housing, we have our phones ringing pretty much nonstop all day long, Monday through Friday, even when the office is not open, just for people who are, they're getting ready to become homeless, or they just became homeless, or, they just don't know what resources are out there. So our volunteers who do the phones are all day long giving referrals. I would say the majority of the calls that are coming into our office right now are not, our clients are calling like they normally would and checking in with us, and we're going out to see them. But a lot of the phone calls that we have are just people in our community who are really struggling right now. And we send referrals to your office at Legal Aid. And we're also sending referrals to PCS, to the Community Development Office, Salvation Army, United Way, all the different organizations that have assistance for people in their various situations. So our staff tries to listen to what their specific situation is and then give referrals based upon what that situation is that they're experiencing. Even if we're not actually able to bring them on as clients ourselves, we try to get them connected to resources that are going to be able to help them. So I kind of jumped around a bit there, but so for our housing clients, what we're working on is permanent housing with supportive services using the Housing First model. So we try to have it be as low barrier as possible to get into housing. First thing we address is the ID work, just because that is needed for employment and also needed for if they're needing to get a voucher. We also try to get them connected to healthcare services, because a lot of the folks that we'll encounter are either struggling with physical health ailments or mental health issues too. And so we try to get them connected to those resources in our community, even before we get into housing, as we're going through that housing process. But it's not a requirement that they do those things prior to housing. We want housing to be the #1 priority. Those are just kind of things along the way as we're waiting for a voucher to become available for them, or as they're getting their ID work together to be able to get a job for income. We have several clients who pay their own way, who don't have vouchers, just from helping them reestablish their identity. They're able to go and straight into the workforce and start having income to support themselves and pay their rent themselves. Once we get people into housing, we follow them for at least a year to make sure that they are getting stabilized and self-sufficient. We don't want them to return to homelessness. So a lot of folks, if they've been out in the streets or in the shelters for a period of time, they lose some of their life skills, and you need help with learning how to budget. Some of them need help with learning how to actually start cooking again. We treat each person and kind of assess their needs and try to get them connected to resources and help them with the skills that they're needing to become self-sufficient, or the benefits that they need to stabilize. And did you want me to talk about Code Blue Warming Station at all? Or
yes, give us a little snippet about Code Blue Warming. We're coming up into the fall, so hit it, Jenny.
Right. So if folks find themselves in a situation where they don't have any place to go to stay out of the cold weather, when we hit certain cold weather conditions, we activate and open up overnight. So from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., we are a warm, safe place to come into. We provide food and supplies to folks who are coming in, anywhere from, snacks to toiletries to socks to underwear. I mean, just basic needs that people might have when they're coming in overnight. We're hoping we'll be meeting as a committee soon to possibly reevaluate some of the criteria that we activate for. Last season, we were open for 42 nights, or no, actually it was 43 nights by the time we got to the end of the season. So throughout the winter season, we had that many episodes of extreme winter weather that triggered our activations. I did realize that I forgot to mention our furniture program that we do for our housing clients. And we also try to provide furniture for other homeless agencies as they get people into housing if they're short on getting furniture for people. We have a contract employee that can go around and pick up furniture from the community as donations and other household goods. Most of our people are starting completely from scratch. So we try to get all those things gathered, and that way when they move into their new housing, they're not in an empty place. They've got a place to sit, a place to rest, the supplies they need to keep their unit clean, and we're trying to set them up for success and to make their new places into homes. So when we have excess of those things, sometimes we have too many coffee tables, or sometimes we have too many recliners. We have a lot of folks, TPC sends us people, Salvation Army sometimes will send us people as well, and just people that know that we keep the furniture here will reach out, and we're able to give those extras that we have to the community that as needed. So I guess that's. Do you have any questions for us, or?
We'll come back for questions.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So I see Kimber has jumped back on. Hi, Kimber. You want to?
Hi, sorry.
Oh, you're okay. Technological difficulties. Go ahead.
Yeah, it went a little wacky. So I'm just going to start over because I don't know where I went out. So it's myself, and I usually have 2 licensed social workers on staff, but we are 1 short right now. We had somebody resign at the very beginning of the year, and we have not filled that position. And then I have my secretary. And then this year we're lucky enough to have 2 WT bachelor's level interns, and they both speak Spanish this year, which has been a saving grace for us. And they've worked really hard. So we qualify families based on what they put on a student residency questionnaire that's completed when they enroll their kids in school. And then we provide everything from, everybody gets free lunch and breakfast at school. And then we do school supplies and backpacks. We provide transportation if they're 2 miles or more from the school. We also do emergency clothing. We can do shoes. We partner with Jeff Parsons at Mission Amarillo for shoes. We do coats in the winter. We partner partially with Evelyn Rivers, and then we do coats for kids as well. We help enroll kids in school if they need that. We partner with the City Health Department and Regents for immunizations if kids need immunizations. We do emergency food. We have an emergency food pantry, and then we do have the ability through our grant to do some non-perishable food items. We just kind of try to provide wraparound services to make sure that their school environment is as stable as possible, because we know their home environment probably is not. So then we do a lot of referrals, kind of like Jenny said she does. We refer to the Salvation Army, the Community Development Department, PCS, United Way 211 helps us quite a bit. We just refer to other outside agencies to get assistance, especially with housing, if that is something that they need. Our grant doesn't allow us to pay any kind of housing costs or anything like that. We have a couple of churches that we partner with in emergency situations for hotel costs and things like that if we need that. We've even partnered with another Chance House with some older kids a couple times, some unaccompanied youth that have been 18, 19 years old. So we just partner within the community to try to get them assistance for housing or emergency shelter. We work a lot with the domestic violence shelter for single moms and kids. We work a lot over there, just kind of depending on the individual needs of each family. And as far as numbers go, Last year, we ended the year with 1,808 kids. It just kind of varies. We're usually somewhere in between 1,800 and 2,200. Right now, we're a little behind where we normally are because we're a person short. It's hard to keep on top of the phone calls as well as the emergencies that arise and getting things delivered and being at community stuff that we need to be involved in order to provide services when we're a person down. So we're a little behind right now. I think we're just a little over 800 right now, but that's still a lot considering that, you know, it's only the first 6 weeks of school. So, yeah.
And that's the number of children, not the number of families, right?
Right,
Okay.
right.
Okay. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to jump to Mr. Smart. Steve, would you tell us about Another Chance?
Trying to get my video working again. Yes, and kind of like I led to earlier, you know, we are a somewhat of a halfway house, shelter, transitional living, long-term housing. We do a little bit of everything in that sense. You know, when the men come to us, we are a men-only facility. And so we don't work with families. We do try to help them reconnect with families, et cetera, in those senses when there, you know, is those situations that are possible to reconnect. But our focus is on that man and his continued success after he leaves us. We provide all of their basic needs, and we're pretty high barrier. You know, drugs and alcohol, I'm sure every one of you know that that's a pretty high percentage of individuals that are homeless or at risk of homeless. There's substance abuse issues. There's obviously a lot of mental health issues. So we work with those two issues pretty closely. We have a full-time case manager that is a licensed chemical dependency counselor. And then we also have a licensed master social worker on staff. And so they complement each other pretty well in working with the mental health aspect and also the drug and alcohol substance abuse situation. You know, one thing about our staff is the majority of us have been in recovery for a fair amount of time. And so, you know, that helps in the drug and alcohol area, gives them an opportunity to get introduced to the people in a different manner. You know, when we have open houses and different things like that, that recovery community comes to our open house, and those men have an opportunity to get mentors and different things in those areas. We try to take the men to where they don't have to have help when they leave us. Our preference is that they are able to support themselves. In some areas that's not possible. We do have a lot of men that are on Social Security due to age. There's disabilities, different things like that. So HUD funding comes into play in a lot of situations. We have 53 beds, and 27 of those are veteran only. So about 50% of our program is veterans. And, you know, that has to do with a contract. We have the Veterans Administration for 13 beds. That's a 6-month program, which is in a sense, it's based somewhat like the Housing First type program, to where they're trying to get them connected to services and then get them into housing. So sometimes that housing happens with us. We have 7 duplexes, which is 14 single residences that are all HUD approved. And so some of those men, dependent upon their situation and depending on if we have one available, they will come and stay with us in our long-term veteran housing. Or they can move to our transitional housing. There's no limit. You know, if they're a veteran, they don't have to be in a veteran-only bed. We're going to put them wherever they need based upon their needs. And we try to spend a lot of time really giving them the tools that they need to be successful later. It's easy for us to get these guys successful while they're with us because they don't really have any worries. You know, when you're warm or cool or fed, you have a nice place to sleep. Our property is really nice. It's kept up really well. So it's a nice place to live. And they are able to do that in a decent manner. And so it's real easy for them to be successful. You know, there's somebody there to help them constantly 24/7. And, you know, and our experiences is when they leave, it's like night and day difference. And so we have instilled a program to where, you know, we really help them find the correct housing for them. And then we stay, as long as they'll let us, we stay with them, you know, with case management. We help them with groceries. I mean, there's a lot of things that we try to help them do after they leave us, just to kind of get them stable in their new housing. And a lot of times it does well, and then sometimes it doesn't do so well. So periodically they come back to us, which we, in what we do, you know, people don't get successful once and stay that way. You know, sometimes we have to help them back through where they've fallen, you know, and so we do a lot of that. And then we got some great success stories from men that have come to us 3, 4, 5 times, you know. And so one of our men that actually came through us with us 5 times works for the Coming Home program at the city, and his story is fabulous, you know. But he struggled, you know, and so you know, being able to work with them continued is critical.
So Steve, your facility offers a limited amount of room for folks to come in and be part of the program. Are you at full capacity, or do you have room for folks to join the program?
Well, our veteran program that comes through the Veterans Administration is that 6-month program. So it's rotating pretty quickly. And so we'll usually have a bed or 2 open in that, or one coming open very soon, so somebody can come in fairly quickly through that. And periodically we'll have a duplex or a transitional home that's open, because we don't move anybody into one unless they're ready. It's not about keeping them full. It's about putting them, you know, in there when they're to that level of our program. Our other program, which a lot of people will say that's our civilian program, that's really not true, because we'll bring anybody in through that program. Not every veteran qualifies for the Veterans Administration program. So we will bring them in through that one. But that program is always full. It carries a wait list. I've seen it happen 2 or 3 days, and I've seen it go 16 weeks. It just really depends on, you know, how many people are calling, et cetera. And, you know, the wait list is pretty critical in the sense of that's one of the ways we determine somebody's willingness to be in our program, is they call every day. And I mean, we had a virtual open house today, and the guy that talked, he called for 6 weeks every single day and never missed a day, you know, and he talked about almost giving up, and but he didn't, and then he got in, you know. And so it's a tough deal sometimes, you know, which kind of leads into that housing issue. You know, we're looking at expanding, but you know, doing that in a manner to where you're going to be able to sustain it to the level that we do where we're at today is critical in our view, and is difficult to do. So, you know, it doesn't move very fast, unfortunately.
So Steve, do you accept, for your veterans programs, do you accept folks who are otherwise discharged, other than honorably discharged, I believe is the category? or is it only for those who are honorably discharged?
Well, the program through the Veterans Administration does have some specific qualifications in some of those areas. And I don't really know what all of them are. I don't really pay attention to that. If a veteran that doesn't qualify for that program wants to come into our program, we don't even look at that. That's not something we even care about. We don't run, the only check we run is a sex offender check. We don't run background checks or anything. So everyone is welcome with us in that aspect. And so I think those that are dishonorably discharged, there's a chance they may need us more. You know, they're struggling in areas that the rest of us aren't, you know. That right there is a big deal when you're trying to do something in life, you know, and you have something like that hanging over your head, probably just from some bad choices. So.
Yes, agreed. Thank you. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So let's talk to Stephanie Rodarte. Stephanie, would you?
Hi.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah. So I'll tell you a little bit about our department and then kind of what impact we've seen post-COVID. So currently we have about 26 full-time staff with a couple of vacancies, but that's where we're sitting. We do, with COVID, have 6 temporary staff that we've employed to help us disseminate some of the rental assistance and the additional funds that we received. In a typical year, we're the housing authority for the city of Amarillo. So we have the Housing Choice Voucher Program. We open up a wait list. The last time we opened our wait list, that was in October of 2020. We are about to do one of our final purges and reach out to the last that are on that wait list. So we hope to open that wait list up toward the end of the year. November or December is what we're expecting. So we'll open that wait list again for the Housing Choice Voucher Program. We also typically have emergency rental assistance programs, whether it's rapid rehousing or tenant-based rental assistance. Those are more short-term programs to help someone who's experiencing either homelessness or just experiencing setbacks in terms of being able to pay their rent and sustain their housing. So we also run emergency repair grant programs for those who are low to moderate income, own their own home, and need emergent repairs. So they aren't necessarily repairs to the facade or outside of the house, not home improvement projects, but necessary improvements for those who otherwise likely couldn't afford to make those improvements. We also house the Coming Home team, and our Coming Home team is a staff of about 10 individuals. We are based on the Housing First model, and we currently serve about 80 clients. Those are 80 clients that we currently have with our Coming Home program. We have case managers and peer support who have clients that they see once a client is into a home. We start with the street outreach component. Let me back up. We start with a street outreach component. Street outreach makes that connection, develops that relationship. Then when we feel a client is ready to move to housing or has everything needed to do that, then we'll utilize some of the programs that we have. Coming Home also has to access the programs in much the same way other programs, whether it's Amarillo Housing First or other outside agencies, the Downtown Women's Center, whoever it might be that might need some assistance, we still have that same process of accessing our programs. So once a Coming Home client is housed though, then we provide that wraparound supportive service to connect them to their needed services, to help them become self-sufficient as they're able to become. And the goal is graduation from the program, and that can look a lot of different ways. Some are in the program for a year or two, some for 3 or 4 years or longer. And it just depends on their particular story and where they're at. When COVID hit, we had an influx of CARES funding. And so that's where we had to hire some additional temporary staff to help disseminate some of the funds. Many of those funds went into programs that already existed, like our rapid rehousing program. or some of our emergency rental assistance programs like TBRA received some additional funding. Even our housing choice voucher program, we were awarded some emergency housing vouchers back in July is when the start date of that was. So we reached out to agencies across the city, and we received lots of referrals from agencies. And so we're working through that. I think we currently have about 60 applications. So we had to close that down so that we're processing that and still working through that. Because at the end of the day, most of these processes are lengthy ones. There are a couple of programs that we have, rapid rehousing, homelessness prevention, that are pretty low barrier in terms of what we require or what the grant requires for us to be able to get those funds out the door. But a housing voucher, for instance, takes a lot longer. There's a lot more required paperwork. So we received a lot of that. We received some COVID rental assistance. So specifically, if you were impacted by COVID, you could access some rental or utility assistance, also mortgage assistance. We're out of the funds to help with COVID, just COVID related rental assistance, but we were just awarded another round for mortgage assistance. And so we have $348,000 designated to COVID impacted mortgage assistance needs. You do have to be behind on your mortgage, but we can help up to 6 months of mortgage payments. That includes the escrow, the insurance, all of that, like the whole mortgage payment is something that we're able to assist with through that program. We have lots of funds in TBRA as well, tenant-based rental assistance. And so for that program, rapid rehousing and homelessness prevention all have some funds still left. So we're still processing. What we have seen is certainly an influx, just like we had an influx of money, there was an influx of need coming from the community. All of our programs have wait lists attached to them. So we have a housing navigator that each day receives phone calls. Some weeks we probably receive about 200 different phone calls. Some we can refer to outside agencies because of their situation, or sometimes we get phone calls from outside of Amarillo and we can only assist those that are inside the city of Amarillo. So, but those that we would qualify, at least on that initial contact and communication, we do put with one of our program managers. They go through them, they look at their need, they do a prioritization for all of the programs. Are there children? Is there income? Is there disability involved? What is the age of the person? Are they going to be able to make income eventually? So we look at all of those factors. We look at whether or not they're victims of crime or domestic violence, and we try to prioritize based on that as well. And so all of our programs are working through their wait list. Currently, depending on what the program is, but currently it's about a 10 to 12 week wait to actually get from your point of contact and calling community development into a program. And that also depends on response to the client's response and calling us back when we call or leave a message, or getting whatever documents have been requested, those sorts of things. So it's kind of a lot, but that's where we're at.
That's an excellent array of everything that you have. And I love that you brought in the housing navigator too, because that's something y'all started new. And it helps to streamline some folks and get them into programs that work for them. Excellent. Thank you, Stephanie.
Yes.
So what I have not gone to Kimberly McDaniel yet, so I'm going to have Kemberly just talk a little bit about what she does at Legal Aid, but also in general, how Legal Aid can help with housing issues. So I'll turn that over to Kimberly.
Hi, like I said earlier, my name is Kimberly McDaniel and I'm a staff attorney here at Legal Aid. So theoretically, I would handle anything legal related, could potentially handle evictions, but in my department, we specialize in different stuff, housing, environmental justice, and community development. And we represent primarily groups, and we focus on systemic issues that once resolved would help a whole lot of people. If an individual had an issue, once resolved could help a whole lot of people. For instance, with North Heights, I was approached a few weeks ago to do Community Reinvestment Act presentation, which is related to banks and how banks give money, but the neighborhood wanted to know, how can we ask the banks to help us build new homes or rehab the homes we have? So, and I've done presentations related to evictions and landlord-tenant rights and some of the programs that are offered right now for evictions, like Texas Tenant Relief and Texas Eviction Diversion Program. And then I have a presentation coming up in October for a group related to evictions and housing. So specifically, my take is I just do the group type stuff, and if need be, provide referrals to y'all's groups.
Thank you, Kemberly. I just want to round things out just a little bit, and because we have some folks who aren't available, Panhandle Community Services provides a lot of services in the Amarillo area, not just limited to the city of Amarillo. They have 26 counties that they cover in the Texas Panhandle. And part of that is rental assistance, utility assistance, and all different kinds of assistance that's provided by Panhandle Community Services. We also have the Salvation Army that provides a lot of assistance for families with rapid rehousing and other programs. Faith City Mission also provides housing, shelter, and programs for folks. And Downtown Women's Center also, of course, focuses on women and families, but also helps with addiction and the problems related to addiction. So I would like to open it up and see if any of our panelists have any questions for any other panelists. So does anyone have a question for any of the other panelists at this time? Ms. Glover.
Thank you. I have a couple, I've heard some interesting things on here that I didn't know about as far as resources go. Stephanie, I would like to ask you, from your view, what do you think how do you think things are looking for Amarillo after the foreclosure moratorium ends at the end of September? Do you think that Amarillo is going to have any effect from that? And Kay, you probably could answer that as well, because as a realtor, there's some differing opinions about what we may see here in Amarillo. There are several that believe that because we weathered 2008 so well that we won't see anything, any effect here in Amarillo. And then there are those like myself who believe that we will see an effect because this is not like 2008. It's based on different things causing the potential homelessness.
Stephanie, you want to go first?
Sure, yeah. So we opened our mortgage assistance program, or at least announced the most recent mortgage assistance that we've had available about a month ago. We currently have about 60 applicants who seem, at least initially, to qualify, that are working through their application. So my thought, prior to that, we did have some who would call in with mortgage assistance, but typically it was those in need of rental assistance or housing. So my thought is that I feel like it'll probably
Darn, and she froze up right when we, there she is. So you froze up right when you were saying something very important. So in your mind, go ahead, Stephanie. Isn't that the way?
Sorry, it just restarted on me. Yeah, I just think that based on even what we've seen over the last month, I think that's probably fairly good indication that we're going to have some fallout.
And Jerri, in answer to your question, from the perspective of legal aid, we are seeing lots of folks who are in forbearance. The one thing that we have this time around in this mortgage crisis is we have more rules and more ways of handling problems with mortgages than we had in 2008. For instance, we didn't have all of the structure that we have in loan modifications, forbearance, reinstatements, short sales. That was a new concept for most of us in 2008. Now it's pretty routine. So I think we have some more tools that we can throw into place that will help homeowners. They just need to know to ask for it. And many of the lenders I'm seeing are being more generous with that information. So they are giving that information, but the homeowner needs to approach their lender to ask for the information, and the lender will give the information. Forbearance programs have gone on for quite a while now during the pandemic. And as a bankruptcy attorney, I also see that at the end of these forbearances, there are going to be some tricky problems that we're going to have to get people out of. And some of the forbearance agreements are fair and generous, and they allow people to put the payments on the end of their mortgage, but some of them are requiring balloon payments, which are crazy. So how is somebody going to come up with a balloon payment in 6 months if they don't have any income, or if their income is significantly reduced? So in those situations, we're going to be offering our services for like Chapter 13 bankruptcies, or possibly Chapter 7, where somebody's going to walk away from the house, or we'll try to save the house through a Chapter 13. So I do see that this is going to come to a head at some point. It's just not there yet. But I think that we also have some tools that we didn't have back in 2018 that the banks are willing to use and work with for customers. So I think there's a little bit of a difference. Like you, I don't see this crisis being one that's easily resolved, though. Like I said, if people's incomes are so reduced, then it's hard to come back from that. It's hard to get back on track, especially after such an extended period of time.
Thank you both for those answers. I also wanted to just quickly share a couple of informational pieces. First of all, as a realtor, those of you that are providing services to clients, please feel free at any time to reach out to me, or to have your clients reach out to me if they are starting to talk about home ownership, or if they're interested. And I'm not doing that as a let Jerri be their realtor, but let me answer questions for them. We have 1,000+ realtors in Amarillo. I know of 3 that were just licensed this last week. So now we may have 1,003 realtors. And, so there's someone for everyone, but my interest is really being able to answer questions for people and helping them avoid things like pitfalls associated with the lease to own, or the owner finance sorts of situations, because I hear horror story after horror story for people who are doing their best for themselves and their families to try to get into a house, and they make the mistake of going with something like that, and the agreement is something that is not in their favor. So I'm always happy I'm not an attorney, but I can answer real estate related questions. And so please feel free to share my information with anyone that may just want to ask questions. I'm always happy to do that. And the other thing that I want to let you know is the Amarillo Association of Realtors, in conjunction with the NAACP, is very excited to be working on a home ownership program, walking people through the process of what does it mean to be a homeowner? Who can be a homeowner? What do you need to do for financing? All those questions that someone who is a first-time home buyer, or maybe hasn't owned a home in the past, or not for a long time, that we could answer those questions and get them on the path to home ownership. And I'm super excited about this program. the Realtor Committee is doing an excellent job of putting some things together. So please keep that in mind. And again, reach out to me with any questions you may have regarding that. We're going to take this on the road. We are not asking people to come to us. We are going to take this into the communities and really try to reach out to people and help them be smart about home ownership. And so that is assuming, of course, that there are homes to buy. And I just happened to pop over to the MLS before we got started to see what's out there. And there, for 1,000 realtors to list and buy are about 468 houses. Well, I'll say listings. Now that's everything from plots of dirt with nothing on it up to your 1 point whatever $1 million houses. And our biggest shortage, as I'm sure most of you on here are aware, are in that affordable range of the, I'm going to call it 75,000 up to 175,000. That seems like a very broad spectrum, but what we're seeing is predominantly 250 and above, around the 250 and above range. Which, as you know, for those clients that we all work with are often out of reach. So that's kind of where we are with housing. We keep hoping that there will be more housing coming up, but we all know about the building shortage, the material shortage. So people who have new construction are having trouble getting their materials to complete their current contracted bids, never mind future contracted bids. And also there's a shortage of place to build. I believe the city of Amarillo has 1,000 lots that it is going to annex in yet again Southwest Amarillo, but those houses are going to be immediately priced out of the market for most people. And so I, along with a number of realtors, are really trying to have conversations with the city about how do we get either infill and have lots that are vacant or lots with uninhabitable housing turned into habitable housing. And how do we solve the problems associated with that, whether it be liens, whether it be title issues, and getting some of those solved so that we can create more affordable housing for these people that you are currently housing in hopes that they will someday be able to be homeowners and not just in a rental situation always. But those are some of the things that we have going on just in kind of the real estate genre. And hopefully, again, we can be of service, and any realtor that you have questions for, you can always call the association even and ask them questions, and they will be happy to answer questions if you have any about current statistics and those sorts of things.
I have two questions. For Ms. Jerri. We've been seeing a lot of people come in lately related to contract for deed for trailer houses. And do you have any expertise or like advice to look out? Because like we had 3 in the last week alone, where they were written at first, and then eventually they talked to the landlord and said, I want to buy. So then the landlord says, okay, sign this. And after a few years, now they're getting evicted for some reason.
Oftentimes what we see in the contract for deed is they are written in such a way, and if there is even a real contract, right? Oftentimes we get contract for deed and it's a verbal agreement, a handshake, and there's no paperwork to actually protect these clients. But what we have seen time again is they get into these situations, they believe they're buying not only the mobile home, but also the land on it. And oftentimes the person doesn't own the land that the mobile home sits on. So what they're buying is really personal property. They're buying a mobile home. And they, will go along for months, years, and then the individual has some crisis, misses one payment, and they kick them to the curb. They've retained all of this money, and that person has no equity, no way to really fight back. And that was exactly what I was talking about when you have these people who are talking about contract for deeds. It just makes me sick to my stomach, because I I have not seen that come to a favorable outcome for the people that are leasing to own. I have yet to see a single case where that worked.
My second question was the home ownership program. Are there like certain requirements? Is it like you have to meet some income threshold to be a part of it, or is it free, or how does it work?
It is going to be free. It is being hosted and provided by the Amarillo Association of Realtors. And we are starting in North Heights. That's kind of the focus group. Melody Graves was a part of that initial discussion, along with Kay, who brought some incredible information to the table. And so it's going to be completely free. Right now, it looks like it's going to be about a 6 weeks program. The general idea, and we're still hammering out details, but the general idea is this: we have one open meeting where everyone is welcome. We tell them what we intend to do with the program. If they are interested in proceeding, they sign up, and we put them in a cohort. They spend the remaining 5 weeks going through a different program, and it'll be one class per week. It'll be a weeknight evening. We will have a modest meal, but we will provide food. And our hope is to also host it in a place where they will have childcare as well, so that those single parents or the parents that are watching after their little ones while the other spouse works will be able to come, and that won't be a barrier. We're trying to remove as many barriers as we possibly can. And we're going to start with a big bird's eye view kind of icebreaker sort of idea, where they come in, they can ask any question they want. We have questions on a hat if they don't have questions or are afraid to ask them, so we can kind of spur that conversation. Then we're going to talk about the path to actually buying a house. What are the steps? How do you choose a realtor? How do you choose a lender? How do you, know how to look for a house in your budget? All of those things. Then we have lenders coming in who are going to speak to them about credit. They're going to talk about debt to income ratio. They're going to take away the scary parts of all of the financing for owning a home. And then we're going to wrap up with actual home ownership, talk about things like insurance, talk about things like home maintenance, changing your filters, checking your drains for leaks, those kinds of things. Just really try to take them through the whole gambit of home ownership and how it's different from renting, but it's certainly within their grasp if they follow the steps that they are provided. And then afterwards, we hope to continue to be resources for them. If they run into a question or when they get ready to buy, we can certainly set them on that path and walk them through. But it will be completely free to anyone attending.
Thank you, Jerri, very much. I think that we're going to have to do a whole other segment on contracts for deed, don't you?
I think that would certainly be a topic. And I see that Mr. President had his hand up.
He does. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mr. Miller.
Hey, thank you very much. So I do have a couple of questions, and I'll try to ask the ones that I feel can be answered expeditiously. I know we have been here a little over an hour, and I want to respect everyone's time. So my first question would be with regard to how homelessness has affected education, knowing that we have approximately 800 students who are affected by this, and the eviction moratorium now being expired. We have now seen so many students affected. I just wonder, I'm curious about how throughout the pandemic, we've been able to track our students who are homeless, and whether or not we have the ability to get our students back from some of the other districts who may not have been homeless, but because of all the pandemic, protocol that we put in place, if we have lost those students permanently, or if there's ever an opportunity for them to be located and serviced through our schools.
Unfortunately, we lost Kimber Thompson. Who can answer those questions?
Well, I want to put that out there, and hopefully at some point she can get back with us. So another question I would have is, basically in Texas, we know that the fair market value for a two-bedroom home is approximately $1,087 per month, with the minimum wage still set at $7.25 per hour. A household, in order to make all ends meet, must earn $3,623 per month. So I'm just wondering, with the clientele your various organizations serve, what are some of the wraparound services that are needed, and what are some of the policy prescriptions or suggestions that you would have, that you would advocate for to our state legislators or even at the federal level?
We have 20 employees, and a lot of our men are part-time and they work for us. And so depending on where they're at, and our minimum wage that we pay is $10.90. And we're a nonprofit organization using donor money to pay our employees. And so it's pretty disheartening to see that we haven't stepped that up over the years. And I want to commend the employers that do pay a lot better wage than that. But that's what I would really like to see, is that it's some type of a real plan that actually gets put into place to change that minimum wage. And then right along with that, the biggest piece is healthcare. Our healthcare, due to being a federal contractor, we have some requirements to do things. And so we pay 100% of the healthcare for our employees that are full-time. And so that's costly. I mean, it's about $9,000 a year just for health insurance per employee. And we're happy to pay it. That's really not the part of it, but it is just so ridiculously expensive. And then you run into and I'm preaching to the choir, but you run into the high deductibles and the limited care, the limited things, and not the care that's being provided, but the care that they'll pay for. There's so many things that an insurance company just flat out won't pay for today, and it just really is challenging, especially when you have individuals like coming through our program. A lot of them, I would say over 50%, need health care specifically, at this point in time, and they have a lot of health issues. And so coming into maybe receiving health care for the first time by, retaining a job that actually has health care is a huge struggle, because it won't take care of the things they need to. And then, the employer will pay 50% or something like that. And then that puts them back in what you were saying, Patrick, about, how much they have to make every month, because then that changes that number, very quickly. And healthcare is so critical. So.
No, I appreciate that answer and applaud Another Chain's House for being on the forefront of ensuring that we increase that wage to make a more living wage for those that are employed by the organization. And that obviously is going to have tremendous benefits to their families. So thank you so much, and for taking that risk, understanding the burden of healthcare cost, and still doing right by your employees so that they can provide for their families. And I don't know if anyone else has an answer on that question that I posed, but I know Kimber's back. Kimber, were you able to hear my question before technical difficulties?
No, I'm sorry. It kicked me out completely again.
No, you're okay. So basically, I was just curious, in education, we know that there were students that we lost to other school districts due to the COVID protocol that was implemented. But, we also know that we have what you estimate as 800 students who have been affected by homelessness. I just wonder, are we in a position where we're able to easily track those students who we may have lost, or have we lost some of those students permanently? So I just was curious as to your thoughts regarding whether or not those students can still receive an education.
It's definitely a huge issue. I'll definitely say, especially with our high school kids, our juniors and seniors, they're what we call our leavers. And we get in fact, right now it's about the time that my high school principals are starting to send me those lists and say, help me find my leavers. And so just a minute, honey.
Yeah, because that snapshot date is
yes, the snapshot date's coming. And so of course we try all our emergency contacts and those kind of things. And then my office goes out and tries to pound pavement and do those home visits to find them. I hate to say that some of them are lost forever, but unfortunately some of them are, but we do our best to find them and bring them back. The problem is a lot of them, we get them back and they've been out for so long, they just don't want to stick around. So we are accessing our North Heights quite a bit because it allows them to be in a self-paced environment and kind of finish early, which is helping quite a bit. And so we are using North Heights a lot. We've sent probably more to North Heights. Honey, just a minute. Sorry, I've got an allergy-ridden kid over here.
You're multitasking. That's okay.
Yeah. And so we're accessing North Heights quite a bit and really pulling on those resources over there to kind of help us out because they can finish earlier and it's a self-paced environment and they only have to take exactly what they need to finish. And so we have been sending quite a few to North Heights to try to get them finished. So we're working really hard to find those leavers and kind of get them back, but some of them we have not been able to find. So it's definitely an issue that we've had to deal with more since COVID than we did before.
Yeah, it sounds like COVID just exacerbated that problem, made it more of an issue.
Yeah.
No, thank you for those efforts. You know, as a new administrator, I'm familiar with the legal process now. Having to get a training. That is something that maybe we don't have to worry about as much at the elementary level, but certainly when you get to secondary, it becomes a much larger issue.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know I said a few moments ago that we are approaching a time where I know we want to get back to our weekend. So Housing Committee Chair Pechin, if you'd like to close it out, I just would like to thank you all again for being here, giving up time to really discuss this issue. And sounds like based on the conversation, there needs to be another conference meeting of some sort here in the very near future. So I hope that you all would be willing to attend that. I'm very thankful that our Freedom Fund chairwoman was facilitating this meeting on the technological side. Thank you very much, Mrs. Jerri Glover. Just thankful to the community who supports this work and very fortunate to lead this great organization, which has existed in Amarillo for about 78 years. Amarillo Branch NAACP is a nonprofit, nonpartisan, all-inclusive organization committed to service and ensuring that people know what resources are available to them. So with that said, thank you again. Housing Committee Chair, Ms. Pechin, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. And thank every one of you for your time today and your thoughtfulness and all the work you do. We couldn't get even half of this work done without you and your caring and your wanting to work with people and help people. If anybody has any questions about Texas rent relief, call me. I can work with those cases. We're seeing huge delays and the courts are supposed to allow people time. So call me at Legal Aid if you need help with Texas rent relief. Anyone else have anything they would like to close out with? Okay, thank you everyone. And thank you to the Amarillo NAACP for allowing us to bring this wonderful group together to get this important information out to our community. We really appreciate that. Thank you all for your time, and community members, call on us. We're here. Thank you.